Hello everyone, if you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. We're going to be reading some more paranormal encounters today on the subreddit Paranormal Encounters. That's basically all I do here. If you haven't seen these videos before, I just read some of the top stories, discuss them, and look at the comments, and people tell me what they think in the comments, and sometimes we look at evidence too. My name's Kandycorpse, you can call me Kay, and let's get right into this. Let's find a story. Alright, so this first story that I'm going to be reading today is titled, I Still Want to Know Whose Voice It Was. I think I spoke to my spirit guide. This was posted by user Tossed Away Throne. There's a few comments as well as a few upvotes. So this reads, I had a near-death experience 2 years ago. I was sleeping alone in a motel room after getting caught in bad weather on a road trip. As it would turn out, a man who tried to strike up a conversation with me earlier at a nearby Walmart had followed me to my motel, waited in the parking lot for over 7 hours before he was seen on security camera walking up to my car, opening the door and rummaging around inside for a number of minutes. He then walked into the motel office, asking for me by name, telling the night auditor that he was my boyfriend and asking for a key. She gave him a key and he walked across the parking lot, headed to my ground floor room. It was 1 a.m. and I was asleep in my bed when I heard a voice, a very firm, older male voice, almost a growl, telling me not in my usual English but in my family's native language, you have to go. Literally, that's all was said. I felt a jolt, like when you know you've slept through your alarm. I just bolted up, grabbed my keys, put on my shoes and climbed out the window. I did not even hesitate, just flailed into the bushes. Felt like a trance. I didn't even stop to think about it. It felt like muscle memory. I can't describe it. I ran to my car and locked myself inside. I started the engine. The guy got in my room. I saw him through the same window I climbed out of, and I called the police. I told the police that I heard him fumbling with the door, and that's also what I told my friends and family. It's such a surreal experience, and it already feels unbelievable. I feel so unsure no one would believe me if I told them the truth. I think about that voice often. I wonder about them. I just want to know who it could have been. And then on the bottom it has an edit and it says throwaway account for privacy. That's really interesting. I've definitely heard stories of people saying that they had a feeling before something bad happened, or they kind of picked up on some things that seemed strange or weird, or they heard something or they saw something and it made them think, okay, this is going to happen, or I want to avoid the situation, or for some unexplained reason they do something that they normally wouldn't do, for example climbing out the window, and then finding out later that something terrible would have happened if they didn't listen. I've definitely heard stories like that before, so I don't know. It could be maybe a past loved one, maybe it could be, like this is suggesting possibly a spirit guide. It could just be intuition, maybe subconsciously when OP heard the lock being turned on the door, they just instinctually, or when hearing the footsteps coming up, they kind of just felt uncomfortable and maybe like subconsciously had that feeling of being watched, so that's why they kind of did what they did, I guess. Kind of like heard a voice almost like telling them to go, telling them to get up. So there's definitely a lot of things that could possibly explain this, but let's look at some of the comments and see what the users of Reddit have to say about this post. So the top comment says, that's a pretty interesting story because something similar happened to my cousin regarding me. I was fighting with my boyfriend at the time. I needed to get out of the apartment, only I had nowhere to go, so I went to a nearby church to cry. It was late and I had to be outside. All of a sudden I hear a truck going real fast, and when it got to the end of the block where I was at, it stopped. At the time I didn't know it was my cousin, but he looked kind of shocked when he saw me. He asked, still looked confused, is it you, cousin? I said. Of course it is, what's wrong? He says, nah, because my dad just told me someone was waiting for me. I guess it was you. His father had died 10 years before. That night, I don't know why, and I never felt like that before. After that day, I feel like my boyfriend was going to kill me. The second comment says, definitely a guardian angel. Don't expect to hear it often, and don't wish to hear it. It'll only happen when it's needed. Guardian spirits aren't to be communicated with on any forced level, as they are bound by higher laws. And OP responded, what's the difference between a guardian angel and a spirit guide? Would both of them be someone who knew me? And that commenter said, There is no difference between a positive guardian angel and a positive spirit guide. They are the same. As far as them knowing you, they know you very well if they're assigned to that role. Then there's just a few people asking about what this person is kind of clarifying. One else also said, happened to me once while driving. Heard a voice in my head loudly say, pull over to the shoulder, and I did. Just as I pulled over, we passed a Mack truck that had stopped dead in the highway with no lights. We would have slammed into the back of it. And yes, it was trans-like as well. So it looks like most of the comments agree that it's either like it was like an angel talking to them or it was a spirit guide. So I guess depending on what your view of the afterlife is and what your religion is could depend on what you think could have happened in a situation like that. So I'm not really sure, but that's very interesting. And I mean, I've definitely heard people say that they, before something happened, they felt like they thought a close loved one had kind of warned them or something like that. I have heard of that before, so it's very interesting. Let me know what you guys think of that first story down in the comments. This next one was posted a few days ago by user eJasper54, and the title is I'm Haunted ? Caption's very short, but it says, hi, I'm 17 male and I don't know where else to talk about this. Basically, there's this girl that follows me everywhere. I know she's real / actually spirit because whenever I'm somewhere with high paranormal activity, others will see her too, but I can always see her and sometimes she talks to me. She's told me about her life, died in the 1890s, and has even asked me questions about how things work in the modern world. I know I'm not crazy because I've seen other ghosts before too. I think I might be a medium or something. I'm super sensitive to things like this, but she won't leave me alone and she seems more solid than other spirits. Has anyone had similar experiences / input? And there are quite a lot of comments. So before I get into the comments, I do want to say that there's definitely a possibility of someone being a medium or a spirit or a sensitive of some kind. I don't claim to be any of that. I think that maybe there are things that some people are more in tune to and could possibly see or hear or feel more than others, which is totally cool, and I think that's amazing. But something you also have to be careful of, and I'm not saying that this is like OP's problem, but sometimes when stuff like this happens and it's suddenly, it's always good to take a step back and kind of think, why is this happening? Why am I seeing things? Why am I feeling things? Is this constant? Is it not? And rule out that it could be a sickness of some kind, like mental or physical. That's definitely something that you always want to rule out in these situations because you don't want to risk getting hurt or hurting yourself or hurting others. But this person says that they know that they're in right state of mind type of situation, and other people have also seen this person, so they know that this is an entity of some kind. So let's see what these comments have to say. The top comment says you need to set ground rules with her. Be kind and say you can't just stop everything and talk whenever she wants. Think of when it would be okay with you and ask her to respect what you ask. You can learn so much from her. Please update from time to time. You need to befriend a local medium to tune in your gift. Good luck. The other person said, I don't think you're haunted. I think you have a guide. Responses, that's what I was thinking. Someone else said you have mediumship abilities. Another comment says, have you asked her straight up why she's there, or if you can help her to move in some way on? Does she need help? And OP said, I have. She was very religious, but something happened to her. God, quote, disowned her, ? I'm assuming she was excommunicated or something, but she hates talking about it. Okay, so I'm going to be reading one more story for today. It's called Saw a Shadow Dude, ? Void Dude, ? I don't know, while making my baby brother a bottle. This was posted by user Knots and Locks. So when I was 12, in parentheses, I'm 19 at the moment, I had to watch my baby brother because my parents were out for work. My grandma was at the hospital for some old people issues she was having. I was making Jay, my brother, a bottle and turned around to shake the bottle. It was baby formula with powder and water. And as I was shaking the bottle, I saw a tall-ass figure, but he wasn't really a shadow because I could see him, but not through him. Do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't see the wall on the other side of him. I could just see a black void, but it wasn't a shadow. He was walking very, very slowly towards my grandma's room, which is weird because she has Jesus crosses everywhere. I'm not religious. I wasn't then, nor am I now, but it was odd that it was going to her room since she wasn't dead, nor is she dead now. It had pointy long hands going backwards, and it walked on its tiptoes with long legs. It wasn't tiptoeing in a sneaky manner, it was just tiptoeing with big steps. I can't really explain it. I froze up and I didn't know how long until I heard my brother crying in his crib, so I ran to give him the bottle, and I locked myself in the room with him because I wasn't scared of the ghost. I was scared that it was a real person, because that's how realistic it looked. Even though it was real, I didn't know how to explain it. I just wanted to share that because I don't want to die holding on to a weird ass memory. For sure, I saw a tall ass thing walking to my grandma's room when I was making a bottle for my baby brother. I know I wasn't tripping or anything. I know what I saw. I'm not here for an answer. I enjoy the unknown. I just wanted to get that memory out because it creeps me out recently. Wow. There was, let me see, there was 3 periods altogether in all of that. That last one was paragraphs with no grammar, and I wanted to see how long I could go without taking a breath. Not very long. Someone commented, "Thanks for sharing your experience with us." Another says, "Shadow people cannot hurt you, but they feed off the fear that you showed. They oftentimes find people in a moment of weakness. Take some advice. Don't try to communicate with it unless you're just asking it to leave. Absolutely do not name it or try to communicate with it further. Ask it to leave and remind yourself that it can't harm you, and it only intends to startle you." Someone else said, "Honestly, I would just call the cops to make sure someone isn't hiding in or living in your attic, that you saw an actual shadow of someone." Okay, so that was all the stories that I'm going to read for today. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and I will see you next time with another paranormal video. Have a good night.